Welcome, Professor Sun. We did an event for Swiss National Day only actually 2 months ago, which was August 1st. Very interestingly, just 2 months after Swiss National Day is Chinese National Day on October 1st. So thank you very much for joining our conversation, Professor Sun.
Thank you, Mr. Kadi, and for your kind invitation. And it's also my great pleasure and also great honor and to be here. And I also want to take this opportunity and express my greetings and to my friends and audience, especially the audience from China.
Yes, Professor Sun, so you are a professor of space systems engineering at the International Space University. And you also became a founding member of the China Manned Space Agency in 1993 and worked as a general designer assistant for the China Manned Space Program for 8 years. So, which is really exciting. So you were at the very beginning of China, of manned space exploration of China, right? So,
right. It's really an exciting time and also a good opportunity for me and to be selected and for that program and working in the headquarters is really a great experience and a great opportunity for me.
Yes, wow. And of course, I'm so honored to have you here today. Yes. And also you are the founder of the European office of the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation in Paris. And you served as a chief representative there for 7 years. So yeah, really thank you for joining in our conversation today, Professor Sun.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yes. So let me ask you some questions. So the first question would be, where did you grow up in China? So which region, which city, and maybe what is special about this region?
And I'm originally from east of China, and it's a place which is very close to Nanjing, a lot far away from Shanghai, and especially now by the high-speed train is only a little more than 1 hour to Shanghai, and the place is called Anhui Province, and I'm from Hefei region, and it's the city and which is very close to Yangtze River and very famous lake called the Chaohu, and this is the place I'm from. And this region because is in the very close to the Yangtze River, and in China it's with quite a lot of diversity. And in the past, and the region are very strongly influenced by, especially in the last several hundred years, and famous for the literature and also for business. And for business, the merchants from Anhui are very famous, especially in Qin Dynasty, and for 300 years.
Okay, wow. And when did you first get interested in space exploration?
Yeah, indeed, it's from quite young, and I still remember when I was in the middle school, and for some writing testing, and the people saying, "What's your dream?" And I just say, "I want to become an astronaut." At that time, and also I get a kind of award and for that this essay, and in the middle school, and this maybe is also inspired by some old stories. In China, we have a lot of stories, and for example, like the Travel to the West, and this is also, I don't know whether you know this novel or not, it's for the people, the Chinese legend story, and we have the palace in space.
Yes.
Some people like that. We also have like famous story for Chang'e, and she is the lady who is still living, with Chinese think, on the moon. And so this is, because of this one, I have a lot of curiosity for space at that time, and I keep continuing with it. and also for my future education, and also linked with my working.
Mm-hmm. So actually, because of the Chinese culture, right? You
Yes, right.
got interested in space, because space has an important meaning in Chinese culture, right? The stars,
right,
space, and so on.
And
yes.
if you're looking back to even to the Chinese program, and all the programs, and also named after was the Chinese legend, and for example, like Chang'e, which I mentioned already, and the lady was still living on the moon, and also for the Mars program, and we also have the Tianwen, and it's also coming. The wording is coming from the very famous the literature and Qu Yuan, and 2,000 years before she wrote a poem and say use the words, and Tianwen is like the question to the sky, and the Chinese and use this word to name the Chinese Mars program. The space, human space flight program is the same. We use like a Shenzhou, and for the launch vehicle is and also for the space station, and all the name in Chinese is coming from the old stories.
Which schools and universities did you study in to become a space scientist?
Yeah, for me, I studied in several places, and for my undergraduate study, I went to Hangzhou, and it's a city a lot far away from Shanghai, and I studied in a university called Zhejiang University in Hangzhou, and I studied applied mathematics, and then I went to the Beijing University and of aeronautics and astronautics, in Chinese we say Beihang, and I studied system engineering there, and afterwards I also had lots of rather intensive study in United States and also in Russia, especially in Mai and the Moscow Aviation Institution, and for the human spaceflight. And all this kind of things, and give me an opportunity to learn from the different areas, basic science, system engineering, and the project management, and for the program.
Okay. Is space exploration still a popular topic in China? I mean, for example, for the young people in China, do they think
yes, you are right, and because of the success of in the different program, and the space activities is hot and also very popular, and so this is why in China for example the space company or that can attract a lot of really excellent students from the university, and I think that due to the success of the program and for the project, and it's very famous, and in China everybody knows it for the different program, and also for the management point of view, and also the Chinese government and also pay us very strong attention. And in China you could see that several governor is from space with a space background. They're working in the space industry and become the governors and become the ministers and in China. Because these kind of people, they also bring their knowledge and for the space management and to their other activities. And in China, we also have the very famous political organization, we call the China Central Committee and of Chinese Communist Party. And this is a ruling group of China, and was around 200 members. And at least I think 6 or 7, I don't know exact number, but roughly 6 or 7 members is coming from space industry. So you could see that how about the influence and how the importance for the space activities in China.
Okay, so really the top government in China, there are percentage-wise a lot of people who know a lot about space exploration. Then,
yes, they are also to use their knowledge for the management, for the science and technology, and to benefit in some other area for the national management.
Wow, that's very interesting to know. Yes. What do you consider is your personal greatest achievement in space exploration so far?
For me, I just I'm a small potato, for the
No,
program.
no. I mean, don't be humble. I mean,
For me,
you are a star. You are
I
a
think
star.
there are two issues, and I think I I feel a little bit proud of. And the first one, of course, is the China human space flight, and I was getting involved from the very beginning and participated in the feasibility study and also for the preliminary design, and I stayed there until the first flight of the program. And so for me, I have a good chance and to learn from especially from my former boss, and Mr. Wang. And Mr. Wang Yongzhi, he is also the father for the China human space flight, and he studied in Mayi and Moscow Aviation Institution, and also and a very famous Chinese scientist and engineer in China. And it's a good opportunity for me, and I also be part of this team, and I think it's also, I shouldn't say achievement, but I'm very proud of my contribution in this program.
No, I mean, so
area that in the for me, I also work very how to say, I'm also involved of many international cooperation projects. And from the very beginning, and I was the program manager for the project manager for the satellite launching services for American company. In the century, for example, 1980, and the Chinese have a good relation with the United States, and we have a lot of joint program. And I was the project manager at that time, and for the international telecommunication satellite launching services. And afterwards, I also worked many years in Europe indeed, and as mentioned that in Paris, and before that I also worked in Munich, and China has just one joint venture with Airbus, and it's based in Munich. I worked there and also make some contribution for the peaceful use of space and between Europe and China.
So basically, this means you were working on this project when China sent their first person to space, right? Which was Mr. Yang Liwei.
No, before that. And
before that,
for the human space flight, and by the program definition, and we don't want to put Mr. Yang Liwei into risk. So before we send him to the space, and indeed we had 4 testing flights.
Yes.
Unmanned space flight, and we want to test the system. The launch vehicle is good condition, and the spacecraft is also in a good condition, and we test all the technologies, and before we fly the Yang Liwei to the space. That was in 2003, and the first flight for the unmanned testing flight, it was in 1999. So after I finished my that work, and I left the China Manned Space Agency and moved to Munich and become a managing director of a joint venture between China and was the former Deutsche Aerospace. This is the timeline.
Okay. And what do you think, or what do you consider is the greatest achievement in space exploration of China so far? I mean, now recently we've seen there is now a space station. There was this Mars exploration rover. Of course, there's this relay project with the moon rover. So there were like so many achievements recently, but what do you consider is the greatest achievement so far for the Chinese space program? Of course, there was also like the first man in space for China, Mr. Yang Liwei.
And for these things, and it's difficult, really to rank which one is the most important, but I can list some highlights, and for the achievement, I think there are several areas, and for the exploration area, of course, this is human space flight, and we put the astronaut to the space, and we do a lot of space activities. Now the Chinese space station is under construction, hopefully, and they will finish it by the end of next year. And so also the other issues is linked with the robotic exploration. This is linked with the lunar exploration, either in the near side or the far side, and also sample return, you know, from the moon. And we are also doing the Mars exploration at this moment. This is more like the robotic mission compared with the human space mission. Besides of this, and indeed the Chinese government and also wanted to make some, not only for the exploration, they're thinking the application is also very important. So they also make a greater achievement. And for example, like the global navigation and the Chinese system, the Beidou GPS system is fully in operation, and they provide a lot of support worldwide, and like the UN and the United States GPS organized from Russia or the Galileo from Europe. And this altogether, they have, I think, more than 40 satellites, 40 satellites and working in orbit. And a very good system. And also for the Earth observation, they also have the so-called the Golfin satellite constellation provided Earth monitoring, and for example, like the disaster mitigation and monitoring. And this is a different area. Exploration is one side and application is on the other side.
Okay, wow. So such a wide range of things you can do with space exploration or space science.
Yeah, one more thing for when you're talking about space science, and also the Chinese space community also tried something which is rather unique and which is not available and before. For example, like the hard, especially for the quantum technology, satellite telecommunication testing. Lot really in use, but for the technology demonstration, this is also I think, especially for the last 5 years, this is also a very important event.
Yes, wow, very exciting. Yes. Maybe a philosophical question. Do you think space exploration can bring people of the world closer together?
Yes, for sure. Sometimes, of course, the space, the world is just a bit sensitive. And if you're looking back to the history, and there is in the Cold War time in the 60s, last century, and the strong competition between the United States versus the USSR and the Soviet Union. And even at that time, you know, the people also tried some joint flight, and this is Soyuz and flight together with Apollo, and you can see the people's idea. The people really want to work in together, and I think sometimes there is some difficulties, but for long-term point of view, and space and it's the place, and it's firstly it's easy to bring people together, and this is also bilateral. And for the space activities, it's rather expensive, and also they need a lot of really team contribution. And at this moment, if we are thinking for the small project, is one country can finish it, and I think in Switzerland you also have some space programs. I know some specialists in the Noe shuttle, they also do some space activities there. And in China it's the same, but if we are really looking to the space, for example, we want to do the immigration to the Mars and even for some other places, and it's we really need a team working. This team working is not from one country. We need all the kind of support and contribution from our humankind. Use our wisdom and working together and find the right way.
Wow, wonderful statement. Yes, really great. And now maybe the last question. So you also once were a child and you were influenced by Chinese culture, like to venture into space science and so on. So what advice would you give to a child today who would like to also become somebody like you, you know, who also want to contribute to space science and space exploration?
Yes, I think for the space science and space exploration, there are a lot of challenges. There are also a lot of fun. We are exploring the unknown, and for our human beings. So for the kids, I think if they have some curiosity in this area, and of course there are so many areas, and people should and could and to study and to working with. But the space is really also a nice place. And if the student want to go to this direction, I think that keep their mind open and studying as much things as possible. And because for the space activities, there are so many things involved, and it's a lot of which I mentioned already. The program is rather big, and we need really team working, and for the if we want to make a success, especially for the big project, you need the knowledge for business and management. You have to understand the policy and the law, and in a different country, understand the different culture. Of course, you need the strong background experience for engineering, and if for the human space flight, you have to understand how about people's human performance in space. And there are so many things. And if for the long-term point of view, you have to thinking about political things, the religions, beliefs, and combine all the things together. So keep like the study in a different area, combine it together, and you will become easier for your involvement in the space industry.
Wow. So Professor Sun, thank you again for joining in for this conversation for Chinese National Day. Talk to you soon again. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot,
Sun.
and thanks a lot for your kind invitation and hosting me, and to have talking with you. And I'm looking forward to see you in the near future, maybe in Strasbourg or near here around.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Sun.
Thank you.
See you.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
See you there. Bye-bye.